beyond that, how is the process? Because I think it's important for people when they have a vision or dream to understand the process to carve, no pun intended, a career in the art world. I mean, because you go from these little 6-inch figures on a cement in front of a museum to having people commission you to do huge pieces of public art and have things in galleries and some of the most famous galleries in the country and in the world. How does that, you know, what was that process?
Our group had a kind of unique path that way. Many people do it differently. They go straight to the galleries. We as a group formed something called collaborative projects, or Colab, and there were 50 artists in that of different types. But many of them became well known. Jenny Holzer, who's just now out with new public work here in the city today, tomorrow. Kiki Smith. There were many well-known people came out of that. And the method we used was to get, form our own, instead of going to galleries to be promoted, we formed our own collective and made exhibitions, got publicity.
For each other, for the group.
For the group as a whole. And from that, we eventually made a big show called the Times Square Show in 1980. Took over a massage parlor on 42nd Street.
Wow, how fabulous, back in the day when it was still funky.
Yeah, it was a real thing then. And we had over 150 artists come in, and we had a whole summer show, and it caused a lot of publicity. And that was really the breaking point for me and for many of the artists there. Then the galleries came to that show, and from that point, my career just started taking off.
Your work is amazing, Tom. People probably know your work, but they don't even know that they know your work because, or they're not aware that they've seen it. Your work can be seen in the subway station, 14th Street, and the ACL line there, and Battery Park. You have things in LA in a Federal Court Plaza. You have things in the Netherlands. You have a fabulous Fairy Tales by the Sea, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. To some extent, your work concentrates, or I shouldn't say this, the work I know of in my research on you, in public art. I mean, that's where we're seeing a lot of Otterness. Was that your intention or mission to have it evolve that way so that it, because as you're talking about the beginning stages of your art, collaborative art project, that it was really that more people could experience art?
That's really, it's true that that's where the heart of, that's where my heart is in the public work. And from those public commissions, I make a living in private sales, but it really starts with the public commissions. And that whole idea was part of our idea as a whole in Colab to make an art that's more popular, that can be understood by the average person, that you don't have to have an art history training to get it. You know, it's in some ways simple, or at least one level of it is you can read the language, you can understand it, you don't, oh, I get it, it's a comic, I know what it means, maybe it's funny in my case, and you know, if that's all people get, that's great. And then there are other meanings that can be carried along with it. But I think that's really, it's such a great reward to be, for me, I can walk around more or less anonymously and watch people watch my work and interact with it. And that's really the payoff. I mean, I make money, happy, thank you, God. But it's worth a lot.
Right. I was one of the comments I was going to make to you and ask you what you've almost said. I was amazed. Like one day I was driving with someone and I knew I was going to be doing this interview, and I looked over. And I was like, oh, there's one. And I'm watching that, you know, it's an amazing thing that people can just fall upon art. And then they actually create their own art with your art. And I wondered if that's some of your intention, because there's people taking pictures, or they may tell a story, or the children start to play. And it's just an amazing kind of cyclical sort of thing, you know?
It's the wonderful thing. I mean, right now there are people in Battery Park or in Holland or all over that are coming upon the work for the first time right now. You know, somebody's going, what
They're
on
touching
earth
it,
is this, you know, and what does this mean? And they're asking each other, what do you think it means? And, you know, and touching it and getting on it. And sometimes some of the best work you can collaborate with. You can stand on it and take a picture with it. I always look for that.
Right. Well, your work definitely, which we're going to see in a couple minutes, a lot of people interact with at least the pieces I saw and that we were able to shoot. Will you share a little bit about your process? Do you start with a shape or an image or an idea,